Mom said no gifts. Then my brother's kids got MacBooks. The next morning, a letter shocked everyone. My mom made it crystal clear weeks before Christmas. She posted it in the family group chat, repeated it on phone calls, even mentioned it when we ran into her at the grocery store. No gifts this year. We're keeping it simple. Just dinner and being together as a family. We showed up Christmas Day with bottles of wine, a tray of homemade cookies, and that card. My brother Daniel was already there with his family, and everything seemed normal at first. Then after dessert, my mom stood up and clapped her hands. All right, everyone, gather in the living room. We have a little surprise. I watched Daniel's teenagers sit down in front of the tree, and then the boxes started appearing. Not just a couple, 8, maybe 10 boxes. My kids leaned forward, excited. Sophie whispered, "Are those for everyone?" Michael's eyes lit up for the first time all day, but every single box had only one type of name on it: Daniel's kids. Brand new MacBooks, designer backpacks, wireless headphones. Sophie's smile disappeared. Michael just stared at the floor, blinking fast because he didn't want anyone to see him about to cry. My daughter tugged my sleeve and whispered so quietly I almost didn't hear her. "Daddy, why didn't Santa come for us?" I looked at my parents. My mom was beaming, taking photos like this was a magazine shoot, and my dad leaned back in his chair with his scotch and said, "You understand." My wife squeezed my knee under the table, probably trying to keep me from losing it in front of everyone. I got my kids into their coats 15 minutes later, mumbling something about needing to get home. The drive back was silent. My wife finally spoke. "Paul, this was cruel." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing my dad's smirk, kept hearing Sophie's small voice asking why Santa forgot her. Around 2 a.m., I got up, sat at the kitchen table, and started writing. A letter. Old-fashioned, printed, signed, sealed. I wrote about every single time they'd chosen Daniel over me. Every time they'd made excuses for him while holding me to impossible standards. How they'd promised no gifts, but staged a whole production to shower his kids with expensive things while mine sat there empty-handed. How I was done pretending it was okay. I ended it simply, "You wanted me to understand. I finally do. I understand that my kids deserve better than this, so we're done. Don't call, don't visit, don't pretend you care now." I mailed it the next morning. 3 days later, my mom called. Her voice was shaking, something I'd never heard before in my entire life. "Paul, we need to talk. Please, we didn't mean..." I hung up. My dad left a voicemail an hour later, angry at first, then almost pleading. "Son, don't blow this out of proportion. Family is family." I deleted it. But here's what I didn't expect. A family friend who'd worked with my dad for years called me out of the blue. "Paul, I don't know if you know this, but your brother's been, well, there's been some financial irregularities. Your dad's been covering for him." I started digging. Turns out Daniel had been bleeding their estate dry for years. Loans taken against the lake house they always bragged about. Transfers from accounts that were supposed to be for all the grandkids. Even a $50,000 consulting fee that went straight into Daniel's pocket through some shady LLC tied to my dad's business. The inheritance they'd been dangling over my head, half of it was already gone. 2 weeks later, they invited us to another family dinner. To clear the air, my mom said. I brought a folder. When my dad started his speech about finalizing the will and how most of the estate would go to Daniel because he'd been there for them, I set the folder on the table. "Before you finish," I said calmly, "I think we should talk about what Daniel's actually been taking." I slid out the documents, the loan papers, the transfer records, the consulting fee with Daniel's signature. The room went silent. My dad's face turned white. Daniel sputtered something about business expenses and, "You don't understand how this works." "Actually," I said, "I understand perfectly. You've been stealing from the estate you keep lecturing me about, and Mom and Dad have been covering for you." My mom's hand trembled as she reached for her glass. "Paul, if you tell anyone about this..." "What? You'll cut me out of the will?" I almost laughed. "Go ahead. I don't need it anymore." Last I heard, they had to sell the lake house to cover Daniel's debts. The golden child's shine finally wore off when the money ran out. As for me, my kids don't ask why Santa forgot them anymore. They know they're loved, not because of what they're given, but because I show up.